Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for coming in today. Before we get started, I just want to tell you that this is not an official counseling session. You did sign the consent form saying that this is just for class.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do not feel comfortable saying anything or if questions get a little too personal and you don't want to divulge the information, you do not have to because, like I said, this is not an official counseling session. I will not be officially diagnosing you with anything.
Okay. Good.
Good. Sound good?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Well, I'm just going to ask you a few icebreaker questions just to get to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
So we're going to start with if you could tell me your age and your gender.
22 and a male.
Male, perfect. And what is your marital status?
I'm single.
Single, perfect. Your sexual orientation?
Straight.
Straight. Your living arrangements right now?
My living arrangements, I have like roommates. I live in an apartment. I live in like a townhouse with roommates.
Okay,
So,
how many roommates do you have?
3, sometimes 4, because one of them's in a relationship. So sometimes their significant other comes around.
Okay. Are you around them often? So you'd say typically more like 4 people are in your house?
Yeah, usually like 4.
Okay. What's your employment right now?
Full-time? Employed full-time?
Full-time where?
At Disney World.
Disney World. Oh, that's really cool. What do you do there?
I work at a restaurant, so I do food service in one of the 4 parks.
Oh, awesome. What park?
Hollywood Studios.
Perfect. That's so cool. What about your academic levels right now? Are you in school?
Yeah, I just got accepted into school again. I was in school for a year, and then I came to Disney, and I've been doing what I'm doing now at Disney for the last 3 years, and finally decided it was time to go back to school and hopefully finish it up.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. What are you going to school for?
Legal studies.
Legal studies. Oh,
yeah.
That's awesome. So you said you're in your first year of school, right?
Right now, well, I should be going into my second year, but I guess we'll see what happens when I try and transfer my credits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And then I guess we can start more on why we're here. Can I ask what brought you in today?
Yeah, I just got a few issues mulling around in my head, just mostly dealing with anxiety and insecurity. It seems like everything that's going on is probably related to one another, but I don't really know for sure.
Okay.
But I just get anxious easily and often, and I also get insecure easily and often, and sometimes when I get insecure, I get anxious, and sometimes when I get anxious, I get insecure.
Yeah, no, it makes sense completely. What type of things are making you insecure, though? Do you have any, instances?
Well, for one, it's a lot of my appearance. Okay. So the one that I can't change is my height, but that does make me insecure sometimes. And the other one is my weight. Not necessarily because I'm too light or too heavy, just that I don't like it, if that makes sense. I used to be very light, and I wanted to be heavier, and that was part of the insecurity, and the other part was that anytime I spoke about wanting to gain weight, people would look at me and say, like, oh, why, like, you don't need to, and, like, kind of put down that feeling, which only made the insecurity worse.
Yeah.
And then when I wound up gaining weight, it was not the weight I wanted to gain, it was the wrong kind of weight, and I wasn't really a fan of it, and now I'm trying to lose it, but still people look at me and they say, well, why do you want to lose weight? Like, you're already so fine.
Yeah.
And so that does not help either.
Yeah, no, I understand that completely. Would you say, like, how often are you feeling, like, insecure about your body? Like, is it a daily thing? Does it just kind of happen when you're getting ready in the
Honestly,
morning?
I would say it is a daily thing, but not severely a daily thing.
Okay.
Like, there are days where it's, like, much worse, or rather there's, like, moments where it's much worse. I would say that it comes up, I think about it at least once a day,
Okay.
but usually it's just in passing. Like, if I get dressed or if I just leave the house or, like, I do my hair or anything, I just think, like, oh, like, I wish something different about myself. But it's not, like, always crippling. Like, I'm just like, oh, that sucks, but I just move on.
Okay, so when this does occur, you kind of feel like this insecurity is lasting just a short period of time, is what I'm understanding?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, you kind of get ready, you kind of feel a little insecure, and then you kind of go about the rest of your day, and it might occur every once in a while.
Yeah, it might, like, come up again. Like, one of my hobbies, one thing I really like to do is I like to go shopping. Yeah. So that does not help when you have a body image insecurity.
Yeah, I get that.
Because it's hard to find a shirt that's either too small enough to fit me, or now it's hard to find shirts that are what I used to wear because I've gained a little bit of weight, so now I have to rethink what I'm putting on. And so that doesn't help.
So like I think you kind of mentioned it a little earlier, but just like the severity of this, you're saying it kind of isn't.
It's not always too severe. There are times, usually at night, which I just associate with I have harder time dealing with things at night, like when I'm thinking about them. But usually at night, that's when it's like the worst, where I'm just like trying to fall asleep, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could just like wake up and be like different size, shape.
And because you say at night, is this typically like keeping you up at night? Like, does it make it hard to fall asleep because you're kind of concentrating on it?
That's hard for me to say for sure because I am on my phone often, and so while sometimes I am thinking about it while I'm on my phone, you could say that it keeps me up, but I don't know if I would say that that's keeping me up as opposed to just being on the phone and being distracted all the time.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Sometimes I will say, like, it's hard for me to put the phone down, and if I do, sometimes I'll think of like, oh, I wish I could like gain more muscle and less fat, and like the phone's down, I'm ready to go to sleep, and I'll pick the phone back up and I'll like start looking up things like to correct it.
Okay.
And so then it's kind of like they play into each other. Being on the phone keeps me up, and then when I put the phone down, the thoughts bring me back to my phone and it keeps me up longer.
And when you're on the phone, are you typically looking at people you kind of hope to be like, or are you like looking at
in a sense, I guess, kind of. I don't like. There's no one like. I don't like Google people, and I'm like I wish I looked like that person. But like if I'm shopping, they always have like the models that they use, and they're all different levels of attractiveness, but they're always like tall, lean, fit, and I'm like, okay, that's not me. So like, what about these clothes that I like? Can I still wear them and look good even if I'm not tall, lean, fit? Or like, do I have to rethink what I wear in my wardrobe? And so I do look at stuff like that, just not in the conventional sense where I'm like Googling images of people that I want to look like. It's just that I'm shopping and I see inadvertently people that I want to look like.
And to kind of circle back around to the anxiety aspect of it, is the phone maybe more like looking at it? Is that kind of what causes that anxiety, that like panic feeling, or is it more like when you're getting ready?
No, the anxiety comes from more because when I'm on my phone and when it's late at night, I am still in the safety and comfort of my own space, where the only person that can judge me is me, and I just don't necessarily want to like take too much time to strictly judge myself. But when I leave the house and I'm like in public, then I feel, even if they're not judging me, I feel like people can be judging me, and they can be around me, and they look at me and just see me as what I wish they didn't see me as.
Okay. And when you say you get this anxiety feeling, would you kind of describe that a little better? Like, do you get just like nervous? Do you get kind of like itchy?
In terms of the anxiety over my appearance, I think it's more just kind of clamming up into myself rather than, I don't necessarily get like a panic attack or like severe anxiety. It's just like something will strike while I'm in public and I don't feel as confident or I don't feel as comfortable. So I think my body language would show that, and I get a little more reserved. I get quieter because I start thinking a lot, and it's hard for me to talk in a conversation when I'm thinking about issues. And then just like I said, my body language, like I just feel closed up a little.
Okay. Do you ever feel like you get like angry at all, like when you're going through this too? Like you get mad?
That is something that I do on my own. Okay. Like I get angry, and it's not necessarily angry with me. It's just angry at my circumstances that led me to. Because one of my biggest insecurities is the one that I can't change, which is my height. And so when I get angry, it's not angry like at myself or anybody else. It's just angry that like, oh, there's nothing I could do about this. Like I'm just stuck like that.
Yeah. So just to kind of wrap everything up, if I'm understanding this correctly, you're kind of getting clammy and closed off, and you kind of overthink about your height and your weight a lot just because it kind of is a center point, but yet when you're getting ready, it's not something you focus on too much, but it can occur multiple times a day.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like at nighttime, you're kind of using your phone as a distraction, and then you'll try to put it down and pick it back up to kind of help with that distraction. Or sometimes it can even make it dive a little deeper because you'll start looking at like how to lose weight or how to eat right, things like that, right? Okay. I mean, I understand what that feels like. I'm sure that's not easy to deal with. I know that can be difficult. But could you tell me this might be a little hard to think about, maybe a time where you went out and you were feeling really confident about your body, or like what were you doing?
I can definitely, it's actually not as hard. I know that question seems hard, but it's actually, for me in this instance, not that hard to answer, because I can tell when I try to actually change things, when I eat better, when I try and work out more, or rather, working out more seems very generalized. When I actually do a workout and then I go out and about my day, I feel better.
Okay.
And so there are instances where I can tell that I'm working on it, and like I eat a good meal, or I just eat a good breakfast, like work out, drink a protein shake, have something good, and then I feel better going about my day.
Okay.
Like sometimes it's very weird, and I admit that it's weird, but when I leave the house, if I leave the house and I just worked out and I have a protein shake, something about me just feels better. I'm like, maybe it's because I'm outwardly projecting to the world that I'm doing something to improve myself. Actually saying it out loud, that kind of makes the most sense. That I have this protein shake, so I have this thing that is healthy, and so now I go out and I'm like, okay, at least I'm not just scarfing McDonald's into my face. I'm like wearing nice clothes, drinking a shake. People see me, and maybe they won't judge me. Maybe they'll be like, oh, look, he's actually doing something good, doing something right.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Are there ever and you can feel like that either if you're not dressed up or you're dressed up, but just having the healthy food and or working out can make you feel like that.
Yeah, for sure, because I've worked out, I make a protein shake, and I'll go to Target or to the grocery store, and I'll just be wearing like sweats that I just threw on, a nice t-shirt, and even though that's not like nice, I still feel better. Yeah. Because I had just worked out, or I am doing something good, like I had said.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. How often would you say that you try to do that? Do you try to do it every day, or is it something that when you start to feel really bad, you'll kind of do it the next day?
I would say I try to do something every day, but something is often, especially lately, just as small as like every time I have a pause in my day-to-day routine and I'm at home, just doing like push-ups or just doing like squats or crunches, but not like a full-blown workout, not like 30 minutes dedicated to it in one sitting. It's more like 30 minutes over the course of like a few hours, that when I am bored on my phone, I'll do some push-ups. When I'm bored watching TV, I'll do some push-ups. I would like to commit more to having a more like stringent routine.
Yeah.
And I can do it for like 2 weeks, and then I just start to fall out of it.
Okay.
And then in some instances, I'll think, okay, well, I'm not doing it now, but when I hit this milestone or when I hit this goal in my life, I'll get back to it. So, like right now, what I've been telling myself, and it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense in my head. What I've been telling myself is when I get my new watch and I can track all my things, because I just bought a new watch from Apple, and I can track all my health stuff. Once I get that in 2 weeks, then I can get back to being healthy. But the counterpoint is, why do I have to wait those 2 weeks? Like, why do I tell myself that? And I'm not too sure.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Just to kind of continue, do you ever find yourself maybe skipping meals on purpose, or ever overindulging in meals?
I like sometimes, I guess, but not in a way that seems detrimental to my health. I try to focus on that. There are times where it's more like snacking. Like I would late night snack a lot more when I knew that I didn't need to. And so now I'm not having less food than I should. I'm having less of excess food. So like if it's late at night and I want to go get a snack or go get fast food, I think about, I've eaten, my 3 meals a day, and I don't need to get this food. I don't need to spend any money. I don't need to have a snack. And I'm better off just like going to sleep instead of snacking all night. So like there are times where I will pay attention to how many calories I've consumed in a day, and if I've met what I'd like to, I don't need to go over it, or I'll try to talk myself out of going over it, but I don't talk myself out of meeting my goal. Like I don't want to short myself on nutrients.
Okay. And have you ever found yourself maybe self-harming your body to try and maybe like alter it or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
Nothing like that.
Well, that's good. That's good. To kind of circle back around to kind of get to know you more, could you tell me maybe a little bit about your family?
What about them?
Tell me about your parents. Are they still together? Are they divorced?
Oh no, my parents are divorced.
Okay.
They're both remarried. They're both on very friendly terms.
Okay.
Good terms with each other.
Do you have any siblings?
Yes, 4, 2 on each side, none that are like full siblings.
Okay. Have your parents or your siblings ever commented kind of about how you look or your body that have ever made you feel like insecure?
No, not in a conventional sense. Like they've never said like, oh, you're too skinny, or I mean, they make comments on the skinniness, but not in a way that makes me insecure or like uncomfortable. Just like generic passing comments about how like, oh, you don't need to worry about like your like gaining weight or whatever. But in a different sense, they always would tell me that my dad used to look as small as me, and then he'll make a like almost like a self attacking joke about what he looks like now, and he's like, don't get carried away with like eating because eventually you'll look like me. And it's a joke, and but I sometimes I think about that and I'm like, oh, I need to pay attention, because what if like I wake up next week and I have gained a lot of weight and I didn't realize it just out of nowhere. So it's not like insecure, it's just like I think they joke, but to me I take it as a serious worry or a serious
No, that makes
warning.
sense. That makes sense. Well, I just want to say thank you for sharing. I appreciate you coming in. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to just talk about this stuff. Like we said at the beginning, this is just for class. So this isn't an official counseling session, but I do appreciate you sharing, and I hope that, maybe we can help later on. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for including me in this.
Thank you. Hello. When it comes to the mental state exam, I would say appearance for who I saw, he was a little well kept. He came in athletic clothes, so like some sweatpants, but they were like nicer, tapered off at the ends, and just a basic t-shirt. Hair a little unruly, a little long, definitely could be better well kept, but again, maybe it went along with the outfit. He did have darker circles under his eyes, so I could definitely tell like a lack of sleep there. Behavior, he would get a little fidgety when I would ask him some questions in his chair. He liked to chew on his nails, so that was definitely something that I noticed when it came to behavior. His speech, he was very loud when he would speak, and I don't know if it was just because he knew he was being recorded, and so he wanted to make sure that he projected for the video itself to help me, or if it was because he was uncomfortable kind of talking about himself, because it was an actual problem that he was dealing with. Affect, this one's a little harder because again, I've only seen him once. It's not like a reoccurring person, so I can't see kind of if he's getting mood swings per each session. But, I mean, he seemed pretty natural. He seemed happy, maybe a little anxious to do this. He definitely was a little unsure. But overall, he was pretty neutral in that area. He didn't really have anything that kind of stood out. When it comes to thought content, I didn't really see anything again. Thoughts were pretty there. They were pretty forward. He knew where he was. He clearly had a good memory. He was talking about when he goes to the grocery store and how he just went to the grocery store and clothes after he worked out and it made him feel good, or how he just bought an Apple Watch and how he's waiting to get that so that he can start working out. When it comes to thought process, he seemed pretty on point. He was rambling a little bit, and I don't know if that's just because he was kind of thinking about himself, and it kind of just got him excited, so he wanted to talk about himself. Perception, I would say he was present. He was very clear. He knew what he wanted. His intellect was very strong. He had a very well vocabulary. He didn't seem lucid at all. He was completely there, completely present, and really ready to just go into it. When it comes to the case conceptualization, he was there because of his body image. He is a little self-conscious of his height and his weight. At first, he thought he was too skinny, and when he finally gained weight, he thought he was like too big in specific areas. So he wasn't confident about his body, which made him a little anxious and very insecure. Made it hard to sleep, things like that. And so that's why he came in today. Culturally, he's younger, so he likes to stay up. He is a student in school, so that definitely can put a lot of stress on him, and there's a lot of peers that are his age that he has to look at and influence and things like that. His family, they're all pretty small. His younger sibling is pretty tall, so he was a little insecure about that, so that definitely has an effect on it. My hypothesis would be just that he needs to work through like some body images, and that he's just really insecure about that, and that's something that needs to be addressed. It needs to be faced, whether it be through going to a gym or like making a schedule. That's definitely something that can be looked into. He is just really uncomfortable with his body, and it's just something that he's dealing with. When it comes to diagnosis, according to the DSM, I would say, got social anxiety disorder, and underneath that, and like a subcategory would be body dysmorphia disorder. He gets really anxious in social settings when it comes to his body. He thinks people are staring at him and overanalyzing his body, and they see, that he's fat or things like that, or that he's not in shape. And it can be found in a lot of men. It can be found in people who are typically younger, who have a lot of social influences, such as social media, and friends, and like peer groups and things like that. So I would definitely say that is what I would diagnose him with, was specifically body dysmorphia disorder. He just doesn't have a full grip on his body and what it looks like, and he feels like when he stares in a mirror, it's definitely over exaggerated as to what it actually is. So yeah, those are all of my notes, and those are all of my things that I think he's struggling with. So thank you.